When subjects rest in an fMRI scanner, a specific network activates, consuming 20 times more energy than external tasks. This network, the default mode network, is the brain's engine for internal processing. It generates the continuous narrative of me, projecting past memories and future planning, creating the illusion of a stable, enduring self. This self-referential processing is the neurological correlate of what many spiritual traditions define as the ego. The DMN is not a state of rest, but a state of intense self-construction, constantly running in the background unless actively suppressed by external focus. The DMN is anchored by the Posterior Cingulate Cortex, which acts as a central hub integrating information about the self's location in time and space. The medial Prefrontal Cortex handles self-evaluation and emotional regulation specifically related to the self-concept. The angular gyrus contributes significantly to episodic memory retrieval, essential for constructing the cohesive self-narrative across time. High functional connectivity within these regions correlates strongly with increased rumination and persistent mind-wandering, directly linking this neural architecture to psychological distress and fixation on the self. Buddhist philosophy identifies attachment to a fixed self as the root of suffering, known as Dukkha. Neuroscientifically, DMN hyperactivity drives this attachment by constantly generating self-relevant content. When the DMN is highly active, the brain is preoccupied with comparing the current moment to past expectations or future desires, fundamentally preventing presence. This constant internal comparison generates dissatisfaction and craving. The DMN's function is inherently dualistic, separating the observer, the me, from the observed world, reinforcing the subject-object split central to ego formation and subsequent suffering.
The Buddhist doctrine of Anatta asserts that no permanent, unchanging self exists. Instead, the self is merely a momentary collection of 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. The DMN attempts to bind these fleeting aggregates into a cohesive, persistent entity, resisting the reality of impermanence. Understanding Anatta is a cognitive reframing that directly challenges the DMN's primary output, the continuous, stable self-narrative. This realization reduces the emotional investment in the DMN's stories, weakening the identification with the constructed ego. Long-term meditators show measurable structural and functional changes within the DMN. Studies indicate significantly reduced functional connectivity between the medial prefrontal cortex and the posterior cingulate cortex. This reduction suggests a decoupling of self-referential thought from immediate emotional processing. The decoupling allows self-related thoughts to arise without automatically triggering strong emotional reactions or cycles of rumination. Meditation does not eliminate the DMN, but shifts its regulatory control, increasing the influence of attentional networks like the dorsal attention network over internal narrative generation. Focused attention meditation, or Samatha, involves sustaining attention on a single object, typically the breath or a mantra. This practice heavily recruits the executive control networks, particularly the lateral prefrontal cortex. When attention is successfully maintained, DMN activity is suppressed due to the competitive relationship between the DMN and the task-positive network. The repeated effort of returning attention when the mind wanders strengthens the inhibitory control over the DMN, reducing the frequency and intensity of self-referential intrusions and strengthening concentration. Open monitoring meditation, or Vipassana, involves non-judgmental awareness of all arousing phenomena without fixation. Unlike Samatha, which suppresses the DMN, Vipassana alters how DMN output is processed. It increases connectivity between the DMN and the insula, a region crucial for interoception and present moment awareness. This integration allows the meditator to observe self-referential thoughts as transient mental objects rather than identifying with them as me or mine. This practice directly cultivates insight into the impermanent nature of the self.
The Salience network, centered on the anterior insula and anterior cingulate cortex, functions as a switchboard, determining which internal or external stimuli require immediate attention. In experienced meditators, the Salience network becomes more efficient at detecting the onset of mind wandering, which is DMN activity, and rapidly shifting resources to the task-positive network, which handles external engagement. This enhanced switching capability is the neurological basis of improved mindfulness, allowing for quicker disengagement from habitual self-referential loops and reduced automatic reactivity. Temporary ego dissolution, often reported during high-dose psychedelic experiences, correlates with a profound disorganization of the DMN's hierarchical structure. Connectivity within the DMN decreases significantly, while connectivity between the DMN and other networks increases dramatically. This temporary breakdown of the self-referential filter allows for novel perspectives and reduced psychological rigidity. This state mirrors the non-dual awareness sought in advanced Buddhist practice, demonstrating that the rigid self-structure is fundamentally dependent on specific, highly organized neural connectivity. Recognizing DMN activation is the first practical step toward non-identification. When caught in cycles of rumination, self-criticism, or future anxiety, label the thought process as planning or judging rather than engaging with its specific content. This metacognitive awareness utilizes the lateral prefrontal cortex to observe the DMN's output without being consumed by it. Consistent daily practice, even short sessions of focused attention, reinforces the functional decoupling, gradually weakening the habitual neurological pathways that construct the rigid, suffering ego.